some kills there, 3-1 overall advantage. And however though, top lane is pushing and will do a lot of damage to the tower.
And that is a massive amount of experience, a massive amount of minions going away. Zyma should be able to pick up quite a bit of it, as well as that red buff, so it isn't going completely to waste. But look at this, watch Jelle's ultimate. All of a sudden you have 2001 and Van Seen stuck on the different sides of the rest of their front line. And with Yin Yang zoning, with Talos then arriving there to help him out, you're basically able to solo down the front line. And in a battle of soloing down front lines,
the plasma fission into disintegration ray to seal the dragon so big for Maz, because there were 4 dragons on Mount Roskill's side and Elder Dragon spawns and they get it. It's going to be a really hard fight for them to win.
They still have that condition, of course, though, with 3 dragons on the side of Mount Roskill, but now it's slightly less. They make that condition not as good, and 2001 playing advantage, and Sejuani burns the ultimate.
Sejuani burns the ultimate, too scared, doesn't want to die, and it's a pick, because you're going to see them have this push advantage. With Yin Yang down, there's no engage coming through from Mount Roskill, and they really need him alive to get these picks, but they burn the glacier pusher anyway, so that's already beautiful by them.
And the story that's being told here in terms of Mount Roskill using these ultimates reactively. In the early game, they got away with it. They were able to use the Galio ultimate, able to use that Sejuani ultimate reactively, and as a result now, it stopped happening. They've had to start to use them proactively because they're just not getting things from the reactive plays.
Started right now by Mag, but it's looking so good. Disintegration Ray doing so much damage. The ultimate 1 gets 2. Looks for another, they get 3, a triple kill for 2001. That's the fight they needed.
And 2001, I always said he would jump up at some stage. Mags, they are mid-game, they are team fight, and they pick up the win, and they're gonna potentially break the base.
They will look to break the base here outside the tower, dropping so quickly. The other one with 4 items at this point is in this part of the game. We're seeing so much damage, arguably the same as Zimmer, and with that inhib down, so much pressure now for Mags.
And they're potentially gonna tick up this bottom 2nd tier tower as well. There's still death timers coming out. 20 seconds on Telos.
They have time.
5 seconds on Yin Yang. They should be able to take the 2nd tower down, no problem.
And look at that, with that, they've opened up a 3,000 gold lead for them, giving themselves some breathing room here, moving this game, but it's still so small. These teams so close. As we look at the replay here, a beautiful Cataclysm buys them time, and Vancine doesn't get disrupted. A disintegration rate to the entire team, as 2001 gets 3 damage off on everyone.
And when you have a Twitch, when you have a Vel'Koz, that little strip there where all of your abilities can line up, that is where you want to fight. Because as long as you fight there, your ability is going to hit everyone on the team. You make the most of that AoE damage, and as a result, they get the advantage, and they're starting to make a comeback here. And it's another instance of just beautiful taking farm, AoE, it's glorious.
Yeah, it's always glorious getting that massive amount of farm. And right now they're starting to set up the top lane push as Baron is live in 1 minute's time. And having these super minions in the mid lane also gives us a bit of pressure. So look, for Mount Roskill to try to stop them somehow, they need to either push this Wayne up or win a successful team fight.
But it's going to be so hard getting that successful team fight for the side of Mount Roskill Grammar, because they don't have the engage, but they can just rush down the mid lane.
They rush down the mid lane, they've got 4 members there, and right now all the members are top side right now. Take will teleport to try to buy some time. Ping down onto the bottom side of the map though, as they're looking to claim some sort of secondary objective. But I like the strategy coming through Mount Roskill. Try to just completely surprise Mags in the way you're playing this game.
If you can't fight into the Mount Albert Grammar pain train, play around the Mount Albert Grammar pain train. Make sure that you're able to get around that, take objectives around them. Don't let yourself get into that team fight, because if you do, if you give Mags the opportunity to engage, they have the tools to do it.
Especially right now, as they're starting to set up this Baron, it's going to be a close fight between these 2 teams, and it needs to be picked up by Mount Roskill if they want to keep their hopes alive at this point. They need the wave clear, they need the added wave clear overall on all the champions, Talos, Yin Yang, and Scares included, but right now, Mags are in an interesting position here.
And they have cleared out all the vision for Mount Roskill Grammar in that area. You can look at the mini-map. You've got 2 vision wards there in quite good positions, cancelling out the vision. They've got a completely dark map on the side of Mount Roskill, and as a result, they're going to have to face check Mount Albert Grammar. But the Talia wall potentially locking them off, but there will be no follow-up.
Yeah, there'll be a way out for Mags here. That side jungle lane will buy them some time. and Mags really want to fight this, get a kill or two, fall back to this Baron and claim it. Because right now, if everyone in Mount Roskill stays alive, they have a lot of magic damage, and Baron shreds that. Here's the fight, a nice cataclysm over onto the tank. Have a look at 2001, doing so much. Zimmer picks up the kill, 2001 will cancel it out of his own. Taking Robot onto Zimmer, but he can't quite do it. He finds in the shutdown for 2001. They're looking for Yin Yang. That thing will claim it, and that's a 4-4-2.
Super minions are in the base. There's 40 seconds on the death timers. This could be the game.
This might be the game here outside. They're looking for the push, but Telos is doing so much to try to defend this one. Low health bars across the entirety of Mags. Can they make it happen?
Telos is going to defend it.
Telos
wins the war!
Telos grabs one. Can he grab another? No, he can't. The other one just alive on 7 HP, but he's putting up such a solid performance here. They can't get through him. They're going to have to back off.
The plays from Telos, they're making sure he gets the health bars low, as well as clearing out the minion waves. Excellently played there to buy Mount Roskill Grammar a little bit more time to potentially make the miracle comeback play.
And they're going to need you right now, as they really need to keep this first game momentum in their favor. You win one game, you feel confident going to the second to pick up the 2-0 sweep. And if Mount Roskill loses one, confidence is low.
And not only is your confidence low, but the other team has just won the first game, and they have that confidence going into it. We saw what happened with Northcote earlier. They won the first game, and as a result, they came into the second game with arguably a weaker composition and just played it so much more strongly. And when you go and look at what's happening here, we're seeing Mount Albert Grammar playing to their strength, these team fights, these mid-games.
Right now, Mount Roskill really need to stop this Baron from going through. The Maz get this. It's going to be nearly impossible to stop the Super Minion Baron powered minions here. Have the Jelly.
This is quite a bit of cheek coming out from Jelly, to be honest.
Only Jelly would do this.
This is soloing out. He's going to do it.
Yeah, he soloed out the Elder Dragon while the Baron dance was happening. It gives Mount Roskill an opportunity to look for a fight now. They've got 3 to 4 dragons and really had this Elder Dragon true damage burn be so effective.
And that is the perfect champion to do that with. It has enough damage. Sure, you don't have that sustain, but you do have those Ocean Drakes coming through to give you that little bit extra health. And as a result, you're able to stake that Elder Dragon, take that objective, and Mags can't really push into this. The burn, the advantages they get by having that buff for the next 2 to 3 minutes, it's going to be too much for them to take.
And if Zimmer can freely auto-attack for that time as well outside, so much damage will be dished out by this Cosmore. He's got the items built up and he's ready to go at this point in the game. He needs to start looking for the positioning in these fights to really just burst down Terra, burst down Shaking Robot, and then move on to the squishies.
But if Mags is able to get a pick, all of that shuts down. If a fight starts with this Elder Drake, it needs to be a fight on even footing for both teams, and that will be what gives Mount Roskill Grammar the edge. Because look at the gold lead. There's only 2k gold in this at this current stage.
And with that, it gets so close at this point here. The audience is riled up. It's on the edge of their seats here, 40 minutes into this game. Given another 10 minutes, this game is dead even.
And it is that matter of gold leads becoming obsolete as you get to the later stages, as people pick up more items, and as a 1k gold lead all of a sudden becomes more and more less significant.
Yeah, and right now moving on, this Mount Roskill need to start grouping together as well, because 2001 gets the flank, gets the pick, ideally onto Jelly or onto Zimmer. That's the game over. Wave clear is gone, and that will be the base. Destroyed from Mount Roskill. Right now, Telos is taking so much damage from the Twitch.
But at the moment that happens, Mount Roskill Grammar start the Baron.
Mount Roskill start this Baron. There's going to be a fight here. A nice cataclysm to buy some time. Yellow's interest will also help.
He steals the Baron!
The steal coming through! Terra plays it! And look at the fight! You've got to see Jake Robert kills him. The fight goes through. The game is destroyed. 4-0, and the Baron seal. Jelly has to 1v5 this.
There is a minute on those death timers. Mount Albert Grammar can finish the game.
Jelly needs to prove to us here that he can carry his team, win a 1v5 against all odds. He needs to buy himself and his team some time here, and they can just look straight for this inhibitor and look for potentially more.
But at the same time, he needs to be careful!
The flag body slam, Jelly is caught! He is gonna die! That's the game! The ace will do it in 1, and game 1 gonna be picked up for Mount Albert Grammar!
What a fashion to take the first game! The crowd is pumped! Mount Albert Grammar is pumped. And this is how you want to start a grand final.
What an epic game. It came so close towards the end there, but that Baron seal from Tirath and the 4 kills coming through, it was nearly impossible for Mount Roskill to find a way to stay alive.
And you have to bear in mind that for a lot of that early game, Mount Roskill Grammar was out-rotating Mount Albert. But in the end, Mount Albert hit that mid-game that they are so powerful at, and they just get those team fights going better. They have the better team fighting composition with the Vel'Koz AoE, with the Twitch, and we just see these disadvantageous fights being taken by Mount Roskill.
And with that, Mags claims the first game in a best of 3 to make their way to becoming the grand final champions here at Armageddon. But right now, we'll throw it back to your analyst desk, who will break down that epic 45-minute game.
And there we have it, the first game of the grand finals, as a cord is being pulled around underneath my feet. But it is going to be Mags taking the very first win here, 1-0 up in this series. What an incredible performance out of not just the winning team, but Mount Roskill as well. But this is a best of 3 series. Mount Roskill do have the opportunity to come back, and during that game, I saw some real fight coming out of that team.
Oh yeah, no, that was definitely, both teams had massive opportunities to take the lead, and both of them also made big mistakes. Obviously, Mount Albert got a few extra good fights, and
what I really liked is we got to see that bloodbath I was hoping for. You know, these are 2 Goliaths, it seems. We didn't know who was going to win, even up until that last Baron fight. But luckily, Tirath was able to smite that away and take the win for his team.
Yep, well, regardless, we do have Dwan off on the side, and we've got an interview with one of the players. No?
Yeah, we're inside the pod with the winning team, match number 1, still potentially 2 to go, but can you guys close it out?
Yeah, I think we can. We should be able to play much better in the second game.
And how are you guys just generally feeling? Obviously, the mood's positive now?
Yeah, we'll talk it up and see what we need to work on for the next game.
All right, well, good luck. See if you guys can close it out. Back to you guys on the desk.
All right, well, there you have it. And remember, everyone, this is only game 1 of the best of 3 series, so Mount Roskill have to win 2 games in a row to come back in this series. But before we get into any of that, let's talk about game 1. Let's talk about how that went down. Early aggression coming out from Mount Albert, and it seemed like they were in the driver's seat for most of the game. Whether it worked out for them or not, that's a different story, but they were the ones directing the flow of the game.
Mount Albert's a team that throughout the entire playoff series and even the high school league as a whole, they've always been proactive, but they're finally meeting a team that is able to give them that same aggression back. It's interesting to see how these teams are actually playing out against each other, because you know, these fights, whoever initiates, it doesn't matter who's going forward. Both teams are putting through every resource that they've got to try and win the teams for these fights. So really just such high-level play.
Yep, well, there you have it. We've also got a bit of a replay coming out through as well, and we can see this here, the last fight.
No, this is exactly what I was talking about. Initiated by Max, but until the smite came through, we didn't know who was going to win.
I mean, this is actually the one time that Mount Roskill decided to make a play, and Mount Albert were ready to jump on them there.
You would think with the Galio and with the support of so many shields that they'd be able to live through that. Cogmore was at a really kind of pinnacle point in the game, but with just so many members just piling onto the one, it just all went well for them.
Well, I mean, it's like Mount Roskill were trying to funnel everyone into one area for the great big Galio ult. They got a few knockups, but then when you're all in one big area, and we saw this a few times, you've got to worry about that life-form disintegration ray coming out from Van Scene on Vel'Koz.
Yeah, you really have to stop and think a minute about the amount of damage that's coming out from a long range between Vel'Koz and Twitch. Is that Cogmore is not safe, even in the backline. So the only way that these fights work for Mount Roskill is if they actually get on top of the carries for Mount Albert and really make them run rather than stopping and doing their damage, which Mount Roskill didn't manage to really set up many times during that game.
There were actually a couple times when I think Talia was able to actually interrupt a lot of the damage coming out from Vel'Koz and both Twitch, and that's where we saw the fight start to go the way of Mount Roskill. So I think you're exactly right. If they're to take this next game, then shutting down those carries is pretty much their solo goal.
Yeah, the only problem is that's so unreliable. The Talia ult shouldn't be your only way of getting to the back line. Like, you want to use it to cut the team in half and have someone else deal with the Vel'Koz. If your Talia ult is your only way to stop the Vel'Koz, you've done something wrong in the draft.
Yeah, but I mean, the few successful fights that they did get, the Tilly-Rot was also interrupting a few of the Vel'Koz ults, but we just saw his name on the screen, on that sign, Terath. Let's talk about him a little bit, because he's widely regarded as one of the best players on Mags, and he's also allowed to have his best champion, Gragas. And in that early game, we saw a lot of pressure coming out from him. He was just on point with so many of his combos, always connecting the flash combos, always connecting the barrel, and then level 6 comes around, and he's even more deadly. This guy needs to be targeted in the next game.
Yeah, I mean, comfort is more than just mechanics. Comfort is also understanding when your champion is strong, when it's weak, what interactions it has. Knowing that Gragas' E, the dash, will interrupt any other dash in the game, like that's something that only comes with time and practice, you know? So you're right, they totally need to target him, make sure that they actually have him on something where he can't just run around the map ruining everyone's day.
He was controlling a lot of the pace throughout that entire game, right? If he wasn't on something so comfortable, that wouldn't be the case. But because he's able to just walk bot lane with his ults up, walk mid lane whenever he's got flash ready, there's just so many options that he's got, and he knows, like the back of his hand, exactly what he needs to do in every situation. So maybe going back to the draft, you've already said it, maybe rethinking how they're going to take down this team is where Mount Roskill can come back.
Well, enough about what has happened in Game 1 and what is going to happen in Game 2, because we're about to see what's going to happen in Game 2, because it is coming up right now. We've got the casters standing by. Jump and Upstart are going to take us through Game number 2. Match point for Mags.
Thank you very much, mate. I am Alex Jumperowski, and joining me here to cast your potential game win, match win for Mags is Jake Upstart, Kelly Holtz, and after that last game, it looked so good for Mount Albert.
And it is a very identifiable Mount Albert game. They don't do much in the early game. In fact, they get quite far behind. But in the end, they are just able to play so effectively in that mid to late game. The team fight synergy, knowing how their champions work, knowing the situations to play those champions into, it just does them so well. And with the Vel'Koz, with the Twitch, it really serves them well. And coming into this pick and ban phase, all of a sudden, Mount Roskill Grammar don't make the same mistake of every other team that has come up against Mount Albert Grammar and ban away the Vel'Koz.
Yeah, right now they've decided to ban away the Twitch show as the first pick here. Mount Roskill now, Mount Roskill Grammar on your blue side now, and Mount Albert on your red. And we're seeing very similar bans coming from Mags, because they know they have the advantage. They know what to ban away, and take away the Shin from Talos is a biggie.
And the Vel'Koz is finally banned. And this is where you start worrying for Mount Albert Grammar, because of the picks we've seen Van Seen on, none of them have really impressed. When the Vel'Koz was banned away, we saw the Veigar coming out early on, and that wasn't too impressive, albeit it was into the LeBlanc. So definitely putting a lot of pressure on Van Seen in that lane though, but the Vladimir ban is still carried out. And as far as the bans go, Mount Albert Grammar, don't fix what ain't broke.
Yeah, right now, ban away the Vladimir from Jelly, because if he gets hand on that Vladimir, he can assassinate 2001 like there is no tomorrow. So right now, it's going to be really interesting if Mount Roskill are going to decide to take away the Grags here. No, opting for the Xin Zhao instead can be super strong, especially with the rework coming through.
And it is just one of those champions that hasn't been around for that long, so you're not used to playing with it. So irrelevant how strong it is, it's just something that you might want to take off the board purely because of that unfamiliarity factor. You have no idea how it operates, what situations it's good in, and how to play against it.
Yeah, and also you're going to see that Talia respect band coming through at the end from Mags, as they're going to claim Tristana, arguably the most meta ADC right now.
And there is a reason. Tristana is insane. You have the ability to play this really strong hyper carry with extreme mobility, with extreme self-heal, and extreme tower taking ability. The only downside compared to other AD carries is that you only get her ridiculous amounts of damage onto one person.
Yeah, you can only be down to one person right now, and Shaken Robot will lock in the Cogmore, and it's going to be put up 2001, and with that Cogmore coming through, we saw it last game, he can dish out damage, and he put on 2001, who we saw was destroying everyone in Mount Roskill. He's going to be able to do it again.
And stylistically, it's very similar to playing that Twitch. You want to sit back, you just want to try and chew through that front line. The only difference now is that you don't have that massive AoE, you don't have that big teamfight ultimate to use. And going into the Tristana Janna lane, all of a sudden you've got this very interesting reaction in terms of whether or not Cogmore is able to really get past the front line before Tristana does.
Yeah, right now at this point in the game, it also means that 2001 will have a safe laning phase, give him time to be able to make his play as Yin Yang going to lock in his iconic Lee Sin.
But the lane counter for Jana coming through, the Thresh is picked up for Johan, and we have seen him be so effective on this pick. We have seen him roam around, land utterly ridiculous hooks to the point where you could almost say mad Johan.
And at this point now, it's going to be really hard for Mount Roskill to figure out how they're going to round out this composition here. They probably want to look for a bit more of a tankier front line, maybe give Talos that Galio. We saw it last game, it was really well done by him. He just needed some additional help from the other lanes, and with this comp, it's looking good so far.
And that's the thing, you can put Talos on a tank and he will do well. There's something he has done throughout both high school league splits, is play those tanks, play for the team exceptionally well. And so we do see Mount Albert Grammar going, okay, Talos is going to get a tank, he's going to be effective, let's ban away Jelly, let's make sure Van Seen is in some kind of position to really carry.
Yeah, well, it's right now with the team rotations coming up through so far, very interesting for both the comps here, especially when you look towards the bot lane. We've got obviously the bot lane, the junglers locked in right now. You've got Cogmore Thresh for the bot lane on Maz, with Gregor still being that jungler. However, on Mount Roskill, you've got Tristana, you've got the Jana, and you've got, I believe, what is it again?
I'm not too sure what it remembers.
I don't think it was locked in there.
I don't think it was locked in. It was the Lee Sin locked in.
We don't see it too often
as
here.
we do come back to the champion select screen, getting rid of that. And we mentioned Galio for Talos. They do decide to take that away, getting rid of that global pressure, while heavy focus on Shaken Robot from the side of Mount Roskill Grammar.
Oh yeah, right now at this point, you're going to see the Maokai being hovered for Shaken Robot. At this point, but take away the Maokai from someone like Talos, he made his name on this really last split.
And at this point, you have to ask what other strong top laners, although we could see a complete shift in dynamic in the top lane with Talos picking up that carry and Trundle into these tanks is brutal.
Especially because it gives you such a strong split push, and it will be locked in for it as well. Sealing away those resistances and building the lifesteal to be able to sustain through fights means that he's going to always beat Maokai every time.
And you also start to really do well in these team fights as a Trundle. You have the split push, and then you hit that late stages where you're capable of becoming that super tank.
And Syndra will be locked in right now for Jelly, but the interest is on the Zed Hover Fancy. We've seen it before here in the high school league, and it'll be a good pick this game.
And it is something Van Seen falls back to when he does get that Vel'Koz taken away from him. So quite a stylistic shift, but all of a sudden Mount Albert Grammar, the style is completely changed up as the Zed is locked in.
And at that point, it's going to be so hard for Zimmer to survive these fights because the Zed ultimate, the death mark, will follow through regardless of where you are through that rocket jump and come out the other end with you as well. So it's going to be very hard for this Tristana to navigate around these team fights.
But of course, to do that, he has to navigate the laning phase and into Syndra, who is such an oppressive champion. You're going to be hard-pressed to really do anything. So look for some roams from Maokai down to the bottom lane. That point-and-click CC really helping in terms of shutting down Jellyoma Syndra. But with that Zed pickup, it's very risky. But of course, Mount Albert Grammar have the game to play.
Yeah, right now it's all on the line for Mount Roskill as well. They need to win this game to keep their hopes alive to become the premier champions here at the High School League. Split 2 of this year so far.
And this is them trying to take on the old kings. Mount Albert Grammar are the challengers to the throne here. And right now, with that first game going down in quite convincing fashion to Mount Albert Grammar, that throne is uneasy. It is very highly contested at this stage. So Mount Roskill are hopefully making the adaptations that they think will be able to keep them on that seat.
It can't be thinking anymore outside, it has to be work. It has to come through if Mount Roskill wants to even up this game, make the reverse sweep dream possible. And when we get into this game in a few seconds, we're going to see who gets on to the Rift here and who is going to take out this game too.
And it is going to be a matter of, I think, again, these mid to late game team fights. And all of a sudden, the way that Mount Albert Grammar plays these champions is extraordinarily different because you have that Zed. And Zed, he isn't the Vel'Koz, he isn't that team fighting a mid laner. You want him to be splitting off in the sideline. Play does 1-3-1, but of course with the Trundle in that top lane, you're not going to really have the option to play into that style.
And right now we're just seeing these defensive bans coming through from both of these teams, making sure no invades happen in this early game, but right now Mount Roskill might be setting up for one on the top side.
And it's a lot more of a passive early game compared to what we saw before, where we had Mount Roskill Grammar, I believe it was, sneaking in behind. But as a result, we're sort of seeing quite a lot of defensive vision being placed down. Not really any reads on where anyone is. Van Steen is staying hidden at this stage, playing a bit of rock, paper, scissors.
I guess theoretically they could opt for a lane swap here, giving Malcolm to the Syndra and Zed into the Trundle, but I don't think that'll work out well for Mags here.
That's a bit too Gigabyte Marines.
Yeah,
at
it's
this
a bit,
stage.
yeah, we're not quite Gigabyte
But
Marines
of course, when you do have this, you have the potential, if Mount Albert Grammar get the initiative, to force that lane swap later on, when you see the resistances in that top tower that fade away. And it is really just a matter of making sure that 2001 gets his farm and stays safe in these team fights. Leave Van Steen to apply the backline pressure. He should be able to take out Zyma. But of course, it's another case where you have the Janna coming through, really providing quite a lot of anti-engage.
And right now, just starting off with these buffs, both sides, starting at that blue buff, giving them the opposite map pressure coming in after these clears are done. Yin Yang with the bot side, Terath with the top. Very iconic of Mags to keep up with the style of play and really kind of put pressure onto Talos and help Shake Robot help a little bit.
But what's interesting in that map is that we do see Terath opting in for an early Ref Scuttler instead of taking one of those AoE camps. In fact, he's not even doing that. He might be trying to take the red buff.
He's just going straight to the rear. Terath just wants to try to put Yin Yang behind because he knows Yin Yang made his namesake on this Lee Sin to put him behind, try to shut him down early as possible, and taking away red buff and stopping that 2 buff might help.
And he needs to finish this off quickly, otherwise Yin Yang will finish these wolves off and manage to make it to that buff. But unless things go wrong, he should be able to make the clear.
However, there's a fight down on bot side. Ignite will be used over to scare us from Johan. The hook does not connect as Scares have to burn that flash to get out. A summer trade, definitely in the favor of Max.
But while that's happening, we see Terath being able to pick up that red buff. And Yin Yang, he doesn't even know what's happened yet. He is still taking those Raptors in that bottom side. And the reason why you saw that aggression coming out of 2001 and Johan was because they had Terath taking that red buff. They knew their jungler was there. They knew Yin Yang wasn't coming towards that bottom lane. They were safe to be as aggressive as they wanted, burning the flash from the side of Scarers in trace for the Ignite. Worthwhile summoner trade.
Especially when you consider the fact it's a Janna here. Janna needs that flash to be able to get out of the way, stay alive, to keep applying the Ardent Sensor buff wherever possible. And with that flash now down, when that hook comes out the second time from Johan, it will connect.
And we've seen how potent Terath can be on his Gragas in terms of landing that flash body slam. His flash is up, Janna doesn't have his flash. That is a potential gank in the bottom lane if Terath wants to make the repeat.
Yeah, we really want to see Terath here with this early aggression, try to match what Yin Yang can dish out on this Lee Sin. Right now, Yin Yang, though, opting for the safer playstyle. We saw it before in the previous finals of the High School League. Yin Yang opting for a safer Lee Sin, and once it hits that mid-game, really start coming online.
And Lee Sin, as much as he is that early game jungler, he still does wait until level 6 for really becoming a force.
Johan with the roam up to this mid lane.
And Jelly doesn't have any mana for this.
Jelly no mana, here's the dodges hook, it connects. Johan will follow it up, the flame will come through as well. And look at the collapse coming in from Mount Albert. They can't quite make it work other than force a flash of Jelly.
And that is an extended trade occurring that ends up in enough members arriving for Jelly to need to play the flash, using it to avoid the body slam coming out of Terath, and Johan starting to roam.
They know Yin Yang's there, and there's 3 members on the top side for Lee Sin. Shaking Road, though, is taken quite low by the combo, but here's Terath. He dodges the body slam, though, with the Warthog. Now Talos is the one put out with the burn, that flash. Can he walk away quick enough? Yes, he will. Such a tense situation, and still no kill.
But there is still a lot of damage coming out from this top lane. Talos and Yin Yang potentially able to punish Shaken Robot if he tries and overstays without any pressure. And Yin Yang is hanging around.
Yin Yang wants to get killed on Shaken Robot, who is so low at this point, he doesn't know he's there. And they're going to go for it. The Q connects. Shaken Robot will flash, but it might not be enough as the first blood picked up by Talos.
And importantly, that does go over to Talos. That gold goes to the Trundle, who want to be that split push threat, who want to be shutting down this Maokai in the top lane. And as a result of what happens there, we do see Yin Yang punishing Shaken Robot for overstaying. Because when your Lee Sin gets chunked out that badly in a skirmish, you don't expect him to hang around. So Shaken Robot falsely believing he was safe to try and farm up a bit more, try and push that wave in.
This was just very similar to the last game though, Jake, in terms of how this early game goes. Mount Roskill had the advantage, but they need to snowball into something more than just gold. They need the towers, they need these objectives to really start making something happen here. And right now, it's not looking all too good.
And this is as well, instead you have less CS leads for the side of Mount Albert Grammar. The only CS lead really occurring that's sticking is the one for 2001 in the bottom lane. The Thresh being able to put so much pressure on the Janna early on, really because Janna's ridiculously squishy. You land a hook, you're capable of bursting them down.
Oh, Vancine, speaking of burst, will be able to halve out Jelly with one clean combo. Zed hitting 6 now is so dangerous for Syndra and Tristana alike.
But you want to see Vancine try and potentially get to other lanes as the hook lands!
The hook connection interrupts the rocket jump. Won't be followed up though, but it's starting to show us how good Johan is at this pick. You gave him the Thresh and look what he's doing with it. However, Yin Yang is back on the top side, no kick available. And the ultimate will be used by Shaken Robot in the opposite direction. However, he might get out. Bramble Dash will buy some time. The ultimate used from Tell is so low, but Yin Yang will claim that one.
And we are seeing the win condition being laid out plain and simple for Mount Roskill Grammar. Get the Trundle ahead. He can split push better than the Maokai, and in team fights, if he gets that ultimate off on the Maokai, he becomes so much better of a tank.
Oh, the death might go over onto Jelly and Knight in combination. Will it be enough? No, not quite, as he dodges those shurikens. And both these mid laners are such aggressive mid laners at this point in the game that it's really interesting to see who's going to actually come out ahead here.
But while all this is happening, Mount Roskill Grammar take the first turret. This is a crucial burst of gold. And again, the top side, the Trundle for Mount Roskill Grammar. Talos is unusually being given the tools that he needs to carry his team to victory.
Yeah, they tried Jelly last time to be the carrying Mount. They're giving the chance over to Talos here in this top lane. And with that first tower blood plus the kill plus the assist, was really in a good point here. Can start split pushing even deeper into the side of Mags and really apply that pressure, and it also opens up the lane swap opportunity.
And earlier in the first game, we saw Mount Roskill Grammar coming up to about a 1k gold lead at some point, and it was much later on. Right now, we're only 8 minutes in and the gold lead is 2k, but fortunately, we are seeing Mags fire back. They're taking this bottom lane tower, so it's that sort of extended trade. You'll take top lane turret, get that first tower, and then about 5 minutes later. But while this is happening, the potential all-in on the mid lane.
Potential all-in, Zimmer rocket jumps in onto Vancine. Will be able to walk out of that one safely though, taking quite a bit of damage. And Deathmark is not quite up yet, but when it is, Tristana being this mid lane will be very hard to survive. And speaking of trying to survive, 2001 will drop Xin Yin Yang in the 1v1, the kick to finish it off. And this is why you get rid of the Lee Sin from Yin Yang.
He's so potent on it, but he's been enabled by arrogance coming out from Mount Albert Grammar. They are overstaying in these lanes, staying overextended, not respecting Yin Yang's presence. But Terath
looked to trade it back, but didn't have the old one available, couldn't quite finish him off, and Yin Yang just hops over the wall casually and gets out of that one alive. Oh.
This could potentially...
And mid lane though, Joan will have to flash away from the Howling Gale of Skeros in the bot lane, and right now at this point, I'm loving the plays out coming through by Mount Roskill. Put your bot lane mid and try to siege down this power ASAP.
But there is still the explosiveness coming out from the Zed. He is still at a stage where he is very, very potent, able to potentially burst down the Janna, burst down the Tristana if they decide to pick that fight. But Terath right now, he needs to focus on getting level 6. That cast, extremely important when it does come to these fights, when it comes to opening up space for Vancine. Because you can get onto the Zyma here on the Tristana if you can get rid of Scares.
Right, at this point again, Vancine is going to try to fancy a fight with Jelly. Sorry, Yin Yang and Bat, but Yin Yang does come out ahead on that one. So far ahead on this Lee Sin pick. And here's what the reaping of the wards happens here in the top lane upside. Talos just easily split pushing into this Maokai.
And the item lead, you see a Cinderhulk into a Tiamat and a Vamp Scepter. There is nothing that Shaken Robot can do into this lane at this stage. The best he can do is sit under his tower and do his best to clear out minions.
You could tell us will win any extended fight against this Maokai. No questions asked. That ultimate being so good against these tanks. And with that pressure, you have Mount Roskill really decide what they want to do with this map. Put the mid lane and the bot lane already and commit to a 1-3-1.
And when you are pushed up to a tower like that, all of a sudden, the team fighting top laner who wants to teleport away, wants to get an advantage, Mags can't use that unless it results in them getting more than one tower, because the minion wave is pushed right up. You teleport away, all of a sudden, you've lost a tower. So a lot of surety required for Mount Albert Grammar to try and make this play.
Yeah, I'm liking Mount Roskill's style in this game, really playing this macro thing. Kind of avoid these fights and try to get the odd kill where you can and hope that Telos can be able to out-split push Shaken Robot, which he can 100% of the time.
But this is the promising thing again for Mags. Now they've got the CS leads coming through. 10 for Shaken Robot.
And 2001 has this balls up by Telos. Telos uses their ultimate, but not so much success as the Cogmore is successfully 1v1ing this Trundle, and Scarus, bit caught up by Vancine. Monsoon will buy some time, won't be enough damage coming through for the Zed, and teleport will be cancelled out by Shaken Robot in the end.
Not really needing to complete that teleport, cancel it, gives you the refund on the cooldown. So that does mean that they'll have it up earlier, but all of a sudden, Telos has the teleport advantage. He's able to sit in the side lane and push, and Mount Roskilde Grammar are more than confident of him being able to either have that man advantage in a fight or keep Shaken Robot tied to that lane.
Right now, at this point in the game, you're just seeing Mount Roskilde not really making the most of the advantage. So much damage though. Vancine is dishing out with the Zed. Lethality Zed doing so much. How the hook lands, the body slam as well, and Jelly is forced to flash. Will not be enough as Zerath claims his first kill for his team.
And that is the pick Mount Albert Grammar needs to start getting back into this game. But the issue we're seeing is that for everything they take, Mount Roskilde Grammar take a little bit more. All of a sudden that bottom lane tower goes down, and Mount Albert really need to get this tower in exchange.
And can't really defend this one as well. Mount Roskilde being zoned off the tower.
Mount Roskilde is going to continue pushing.
Yeah, they're happy to continue pushing. You've got the Trundle.
They're going to get this tower down.
They can push so quickly here, and with Mount Roskilde having 2 towers, might even look for more here. The inhibitor tower could be taken down as well. That's where the split push really comes in.
Although Shaken Robot getting a lot of damage down on that top lane, so far it is a 2-for-1 turret trade. But importantly, the mid lane tower goes down for the side of Mount Albert Grammar. You see them usually start to really peak up as Terath goes in.
Terath goes in into a 2v2. Vancine doing so much damage, won't be enough. Yin Yang claiming the first kill. Now Vancine has to run the double kill for the Lee Sin. And 2001 is helpless and can't really get into the fight.
Yin Yang has brought his school bag and he is putting Mount Roskilde Grammar into it. He is all over the map, taking kills everywhere. Top lane, bot lane, mid lane, in the jungle. And as a result, we are seeing it pay off. 3k gold lead for Mount Roskilde, Mountain Drake, turret advantage. Everything's falling into place.
This is what Mount Roskilde really needed to do, abuse the early game weaknesses of Mags. But right now, Jelly might find himself a little bit caught out here. The Maokai and the Thresh are chasing him away. The hook will narrowly miss, and the TP actually being channeled by Telos. He wants to come help his mid laner here and should be able to get out this one safely.
And in that fight, you have to give it to the Syndra and to the Trundle. But again, Mount Albert Grammar try to take something. Mount Roskilde take it right back, picking up that middle lane tower.
Yeah, at this point in the game, Mount Roskilde is trying to snowball this game out of control for Mags. Mags really need to start finding these openings because they're up 4,000 gold upside. And at this point, you're getting to the point where you want to start taking these Rift Shields.
And at this current stage, Mount Albert Grammar might not be able to transition into that mid game that they love so much. Because not only are you behind a lot more than you were before, you have that Zed, which is a lot worse in these team fights. You're looking for a Zed to be able to split push, but at the moment, he isn't winning anything enough.
But he can find picks though upside, and Zimmer might be the one. Deathmark will not be enough. Jano, the hero, and will save Zimmer's life.
And that is why Assassins started to come out of the meta. You think, hey look, we've got an 80 carry-oriented meta. Why not just pick Assassins to counter it? Because the reason we have the 80 carry-oriented meta is because of these shielding supports that just make it impossible for a job to be done.
Making it impossible, Telos is in a 3v1 situation, will not be able to make it out of that one. and 2001 will claim another kill. Yin though with a smite Q will assassinate the Cogmore and should be able to walk out of this one safely. The flashes burns and Benzine wants to trade this one. Syndra though will kill it. He's out! Yin Yang makes it out, and the fight carries on. Tear out the tank in the tower and can't quite do enough to kill him. But what a fight coming through from Mount Roskill.
Mount Roskill, we saw them win these scrappy exchanges last game. They come back in the second game and they do it all over again.
But the difference is this time, Outsiders, they also combine it with these macro level objectives, like the Rift Shield, like the towers, and what we're seeing is there's so much coming out of Mount Roskill, as evidenced by the Smite Q on 2001, seals this bait. No ways out of that one.
And Yin Yang is doing so much damage at this stage as well. He's still at that period where Lee Sin just does ridiculous amounts, and then the hop on to Jelly to get out to avoid giving over that kill. In the end, it is a 2-for-1, and they defend the top tower.
They defend top tower, and importantly, they pick up the Rift Shield off the back of it as well. That gives them that tower pushing advantage. They win one more of those fights. That's one tower, if not two, gone.
But at the same time, we're seeing the scaling come through for all of these champions. Cogmore has his Gunso's Rage Blade now. We're seeing Zed get his Dusk Blade. But at the same time, Hydra completed for Trundle, Black Cleaver for Yin Yang on that Lee Sin, Morellonomicon for Syndra. Ivan Spikes are getting up there, and considering the amount of damage being built, we're in for a very explosive mid-game.
Right now, it's just Zimmer who's lagging a little bit behind in terms of Mount Roskill, but he can still make it work here, going for that crit build, i.e. slowly being built up. It's an expensive item, all the parts of it are quite expensive to build as well. So understandably he's a little bit further behind, but he needs to start looking to make these plays as Yin Yang does for his team.
And he's level 11 now, so that means that that Dragon's Kick is just going to do a lot more damage than it already is. And considering that we do see Yin Yang building damage, he's looking to play the Assassin Lee Sin. He's looking to get in people's faces and shut down 2001, shut down Van Seen.
And they're going to drop the Rift Shield mid here as well. They're looking for a siege, but look at the wave they're coming through from Mount Albert Grammar. Sure, Rift Shield will do half the tower in health, but it's not enough to claim it, not enough to complete that objective. And I would argue a bit of a waste here from Mount Roskill.
I do feel as though it was just a matter of the timer going off, but at the same time, using that Rift Herald alleviates the pressure from Telos. He's able to push right up into that lane again. And if you want to utilize Shaken Robot, it's going to cost you an inhibitor tower at this stage.
And it's getting so hard for Max to try to defend this game. Goldie's still at about 4,000, but still an influential one on this one. Jelly gets Deathmark, use the ultimate back on Zed, will not be able to pick up that kill either of them. However, the hook lands onto Zimmer. Zimmer gonna use that barrier, but however, Yin Yang will counter it back. Johan will fall, and that's the pick that Mount Roskill were looking for. They're looking for more as well.
Between the barrier and between the Janna, there are so many shields that Van Seen won't be able to assassinate anyone. Somebody who gets caught from the thresh hook becomes a super tank. And it means that we're seeing Mount Roskill Grammar start to suffocate Mount Albert out of the game. And this is the cost of picking that assassin pick. You have no comeback mechanics.
However, the Telos will drop Shaken Robot, caught under tower, a bit too much burst for the Trundle to deal with, and that stops Mount Roskill in their push. But they claimed the tower, and they got a kill off it as well, so they kept it about even.
It's a 6k gold lead at this current stage for the side of Mount Roskill. That is the biggest lead we have seen pre-30 minutes in this game, and they are using it effectively. We're seeing complete map dominance from them. Wards taken down, turrets taken down. Mount Albert Grammar are almost playing blind when it comes into this. And when you're face checking into a Syndra, when you're face checking into a Trundle, when you're face checking into a Hex Drinker Lee Sin, you are in a really bad position.
And it's going to be so hard for them to make comeback, but they still have the options open. 2001 will scale ridiculously, arguably slightly stronger than Tristana in terms of DPS. And with that, they can look to make a late game comeback that Mags are known for. But right now, the Mountain Dragon's going to be started up by them, trying to keep as close to Mount Roskill as possible.
And Mount Albert Grammar are still keeping up a few CS leads. We see Shaken Robot being ahead by 20. While we look at 2001.
Oh, the Q connects, but won't be able to steal it there. Terra claiming that one, even though he was 3 levels under Yin Yang.
Of course, Yin Yang not opting in for that because full damage Lee Sin is rather squishy. And when your Cogmore is 70 CS ahead of its opposite, even though you've got kills, even though you've got turrets, that is enough gold to put 2001 ahead of that Tristana in terms of dealing damage.
Oh, look at the damage going to do as Vancine assassinates Zimmer. He's looking for scares with the flash, will secure the Zed, the double kill for the Zed, and now Jella is the one boosted up. Tira is here to help back him up. Shake Robert is low, but that's 2 quick kills done by Mags, and answering one though from Yin Yan over onto Johan.
And that is what you want to happen. Vancine, he finally pulls off the assassination. All of a sudden, the Ardent Sensor is gone, but Tristana is gone. And that's just Mount Russell Grammar overextending a bit, not respecting the amount of damage coming out from Zed.
As you see here in that replay, look at the damage the Zed is dishing out there and immediately assassinates the Tristana and goes off to finish the Janna as well. And at this point, Jelly getting zoned out of this fight and doing so much damage, force a flash over the wall as well. And Yin Yan gets that counter kill at the very end there as well.
Yin Yan is playing out of his mind. Don't let that be understated. He is the one trying to make these plays, trying to force it. He is the one trying to put his team saying, no, I am not letting us lose. I'm making it, trying to force it to a game 3. And as a result, we're seeing him come out with an amazing score of 7, 0, and 2. And building this full damage Lee Sin, he is doing his best to make use of this gold.
100% kill participation upside. That's amazing coming through for Lee Sin here, really helping his team get up to the next level. But they need to look for more. They're starting to lose that gold lead. That 6,000 gold lead compliments going upside is now only 5.
But this is the issue. We are seeing Vancine build up his items. He's got the double lethality, the Ghost Blade, the Dusk Blade coming through. And he is looking for these engages, looking to assassinate Zyma. And as he gets more items, it's going to be harder and harder for Scaras to keep him safe.
Yeah, and right now at this point in the game, it's a bit of a standstill between these two because Matt can still get off a successful team fight if the situation's right. And Mount Roskill don't want to force too much. That's what happened last time. That's when Vancine got that double kill. So they really need to think very carefully about the next couple of decisions here.
And this is the thing. All of the gold right now is focused on Talos, and it's focused on Yin Yan. A little bit of it is on Jelly, a little bit is on Tristana, but it's really that top 2 members for the side of Mount Roskill will have this gold. And it's very hard to transition a full damage Lee Sin into a team fight lead, to transition a split pushing top laner into a CS lead, especially when Trundle's tankiness is dependent upon the tankiness of his opposite.
Yeah, it makes it very hard for Mount Roskill to find that opening. There's Johan, those out the descent, doesn't quite connect on to the Syndra, but it's enough to force him back. They have to play this so carefully because no one is tanking us with these fights.
And when you are 2001 with 100-ish CS above his lane opponent at 23 minutes, almost doubling that number at this time of the game,
Flame
is
Horizon
ridiculous.
actually in Justice now. Over 100 CS up. You don't see that often here, but when it happens, it means that your Cogmore is super far
They
ahead.
catch Yin Yan!
And they catch Yin Yan, they get the kill on the 2001 as well. Extra gold for the Cogmore, and you're seeing lots of things coming from Mags onto Baron. Jungle is dead.
And this is what we're seeing. 2001 is keeping his team in this game purely because he is getting all of this farm. He is getting all of this CS. And as a result, they're not really able to force these team fights. They're not able to make use of the Lee Sin. They're not able to make use of the Trundle. Because even though they have all this gold, they're 6,000 gold ahead. They still have the Cogmore, who is ridiculously far ahead, but Talos, he's doing his best to try and force a point here.
Talos is still split pushing the bot lane while they're doing the Baron. That's a free inhibitor tower for Mount Roskill, but Vancine looks to make it back here, kills the Janna, but will be answered immediately back by Zimmer. That's the 1-for-1, and Talos is still looking for more. Johan heads it back as well to try to help him. That means 2001 and Terra low as Talos in a 3v1. Can he get in him? He gets it just before he drops, and that's the base cracked open in Mount Roskill's favor.
And all of a sudden, any potential for Mags to take the Baron is gone. They have cleared out the vision around that region. They have an inhibitor taken down. The super waves will provide so much pressure on the opposite end of the map. And again, you have that same issue where you have super minions. All of a sudden, if you want to utilize Shaken Robot's teleport, you're going to cost yourself objectives. So you need to make sure of it. It makes you more hesitant to make that play because you know that if it fails, you're going to lose oh so much.
Especially right now, as you're seeing Mount Roskill start to set up around this Baron. If they can claim this, it makes the 4-1 so much stronger. You give the Baron buff to the Trundle, who've left untouched, will easily beat the Maokai and start beating down those Nexus towers as well to try to extend this best of 3 series.
But the issue with that is that Terras has been on Yin Yan's case this entire game. We've seen Baron steals. So while Yin Yan has had an amazing performance in terms of mechanics, his objective control has a little left to be worried, but Johan potentially caught.
Zimmer rocket jumping in and will do so much damage over to Johan, looking for more as well. The shield will not be enough, and Yin Yan will get the pick for Mount Roskill. Pings onto the top lane, 2001 is on the tower. Will force the flash out. Yin Yan, this Lee Sin, he's a god.
And this is what needs to be happening. They need to be trying to force it, because eventually the Cogmore is going to scale up, the Zed's going to scale up, Maokai is going to become a tank, Gragas is going to be a tank, Thresh is going to become a tank, and as a result, you're going to end up seeing Mags being able to take a team fight.
Right now though, up top, they're just looking to take this inner top tower, extend that gold lead up to 6,000 gold, and tell us, still doing his job, still split pushing. He doesn't care about the Zed that's hitting him the whole time.
He is just so tanky at this stage, potentially going for the all-in.
Oh,
2001 is
Jelly
dead.
gets a kill in 2001, and that's the pick onto the ADC of Mags. And with that, most of the wave is gone. It's only Vancine. They can break the base open even more now.
It's just a matter of trying to play it up. You have the Tristana, who is so prone to taking these towers.
Hook onto Yin Yang will help them out a bit, but not enough there. Terra takes so much damage here, and they really need to break the space, get a section inhibitor, and buy themselves a bit more breathing room.
They just need to wait for the Superman's draw, but they go in for the fight.
The hook on the Scarus will steal his bait. Johan claimed that one for himself. And now Mag has delayed it once again, doing so good at this turtle style of play.
And when you have the Thresh, when you have the Maokai, when you have the Zed, the amount of burst, the amount of lockdown that can come out from that group of champions is potent, because all you need to do is land one bit of CC, all the other CC lands, and all of a sudden you have a dead member, especially if it's someone squishy like the Janna.
Yeah, and at this point, Roskill need to start looking to play around that. Scarus is so important at this point. Speaking of important, Zimmer is calling out, we have to burn the flash from the ultimate. The flash will be completely negated by that blasting cone, then Zimmer gates it out that 1v1 by the skin of his teeth.
And that is what Vancine can do when there is no Janna. Basically, Janna is what keeps Tristana alive in these fights. Jelly has a bit of self-heal, but Zyma is relying upon that shield, upon that Monsoon for its safety. And after forcing that AD carry back, they pick it up. But the response is coming out from Mount Roskill to pick the Baron.
Yeah, they say, Mags, sure, you got the Dragon, but we want the Baron. We want the big purple worm on the top side of the map.
And
if
Mount
they get
Grammar
this,
isn't responding to this. They have no idea what's
they're
going
being
on.
zoned off by Telos. Telos zoning off the entire team of Mount Alabama, and there's a free Baron picked up by Mount Roskill.
And I think this is where the game starts becoming undeniably Mount Roskill's. They have this oppressive composition. Jelly, all he needs to do is wait to see if he can hit 2001. Yin Yang can poke around, look for that Q, look to go in for the assassination. And then Zyma, all he needs to do is push the turrets with Telos on the side lane, drawing pressure, beating out Shaken Robot.
Yeah, at this point in the game as well, I'd like to note that Lee Sin has a Dusk Blade. He's gone full assassination. He's going to make sure that 2001 does not live a single second in these team fights, and that's what he needs to do.
And this is often why you did see the Lee Sin being taken away from Yin Yang throughout the split. It was just so effective.
Stun was landed on 2001, but no fault coming through with so much damage now being dealt by these towers. And Telos and Yin Yang really needs to push. That's the middle, inhib tower down, and maybe the inhib to go with it as well. No way of defending this one now, and Mags is slowly getting himself into a worse and worse spot.
And this is what we did see from Mount Albert Grammar. If they don't get ahead, if they're not able to play this middle game style, they're not that good at playing
He gets
behind.
a tower. He gets a tower.
three-man stun!
A three-man stun though by Jelly will start the fight up. And not enough damage will be dealt onto Union to kill him. The death mark not being effective. Another nice stun coming from Jelly. That'll give him one kill. Tirath is now down. The other one though still alive and healthy, doing so much damage. We'll be able to snipe out Scares him back into that fight. A nice nightclub will buy some time. That's the Kongmore dead. That's the Thresh as well. And now it's just the top laner, just the mid laner left. It's a 2v2 and Vancine can do a lot of damage very quickly.
But that's the inhibitor being taken down from the side of Mount Roskill Grammar. All they need to do is take this. If they want to be real risky, take down that bottom inhibitor. They have the damage, the full 80 damage, Lee Sin, and the Tristana. Plus just the Baroned up minions, the super minions, making it so difficult. All that really needs to happen is that a few auto attacks coming through, and all of a sudden, Tristana, Mount Roskill Grammar, Lee Sin, they're in a really good position with 3 inhibitor towers taken down.
Breathing towers and inhibitors as well. The base is wide open now, and so is the goal lead, 9,000 up for Mount Roskill. They're one team fight away from making this a full 3-game series here.
And that is what you want to do. You've taken Mount Albert Grammar off of these picks. You've got them into a composition that doesn't team fight as well, and Mount Albert Grammar seem lost. They're not able to really crawl back from that early game deficit. And with this composition, with the Syndra, with the Tristana, this team that is so capable of really using that early game advantage, we are seeing Mount Roskill use it to great effect.
Yeah, and right now it's going to be so hard for Mag to find that opening to try to defend their base as well. You've seen the GA being picked up by Vancine to give himself a bit more freedom in terms of going in so he can die, and sure, he can come back a little bit later to try to clean things up. So now he's expendable. He can go in. If he dies, it doesn't matter all that more, and that gives Mags a lot more opportunities. As Yin Yang is knocked into the fight, the root will come through, and the snipe, the shutdown coming through for 2001. A nice Syndra zone to buy some time, but the death mark will secure Simmer's dead.
But Talos is taking the base!
Is on the base. He's hitting one Nexus tower. Can he get another? The flash from Teros will not be enough. Talos gets one. He's looking for the end. He's free hitting this Nexus. No one to stop him. It's only Shaken Robot and Vancine alive. 2001 is nowhere near. He's trying to TPS down the Trundle. The minions are there. They kill him. But can they kill the minions?
Kill the minions?
The minions drop it so low. Can they defend us? No, they can't. Mount Roskill even up the series. By slim margins up start, Mount Roskill ties one up.
And that is how Mount Roskill wants to play this game. Perhaps not so much of a here's width of an ending, but the way they just take advantage from that early game. They make Mount Albert Grammar need to try and start playing a bit more difficulty in these team fights by taking away the Vel'Koz, taking away the Twitch. All of a sudden, the burden of execution in these team fights is placed on the team with the Assassin, and as a result, we see them be quite capable of taking these fights, transitioning an early game lead into a late game lead, and then it's just all Mount Roskill.
And at this point, now Mags has to win back-to-back 3-game series. They've beaten Burnside. They need to win this one game against Mount Roskill to claim their high school league champion spot. But right now, Matt and the rest of the analysts are ready to break that one down for us.
Thanks very much, Jump and Upstart, for taking us through that thriller of a match. And let me just say, Yin Yang is an actual god. That was insane, that early game. Now, of course, Mount Roskill have tied it up 1-1. We're going to go to Game 3, everyone. This is the grand final in the Premier Division that everyone is here to see. I know there's a lot of Mags fans in the crowd. They're definitely going to be a little bit worried, but Mount Roskill are looking like they're set to maybe defend their title.
There's been a lot of teams played out throughout this competition, and I think this is just a series that tops it all off, right? We've had 2 teams, I've talked about it before, how good they are, but these performances, I didn't expect a Trundle to literally just walk past the rest of the enemy team and win the game.
That was insane. I mean, technically the Minions won the game.
Sorry, true. Minions will win the game.
Credit where credit is due, but in any case, he did do the majority of the damage to the Nexus itself, and you know, while that was a minor part of the game itself, it was so exciting to watch. Everyone was tensed in the crowd, and it looked like, yeah, maybe Mount Roskill were going to live to fight for another team fight. But nope, he did not have very nice things to say about that. He just went straight past, went for that Nexus. But let's rewind a little bit, go all the way back to the start of Game 2. Let's see what happened there. I mean, Yin Yang just started going absolutely off.
Yeah, he just, that incredible play top lane where he threw the Sonic Wave, threw the Minion Wave and smited the Minion so that it could keep going and hit the Cogmore, and then followed it all the way through with the Lantern and just one-shot the Cogmore. That was a really incredible display of mechanics and makes me really excited to see what else this guy can do.
I think they clearly heard you in that our post-game analysis the last time. We have this, he's very comfortable. You can tell he was doing these plays, you know, without basically showing any effort, really. You know, he was put himself in a position every time to carry these team fights, and they've done such a good job.
Yeah, I mean, it's just been an insane finals. We are here, of course, live at Auckland Armageddon. We're at the Logitech G Arena. If you want to come check us out at stand 104, because we are very close to getting into game number 3 of this grand final. And look, gentlemen, we've talked about what happened in game 2 a little bit, but moving into game 3, what are each team going to have to do differently, or maybe keep the same, to win the title of the high school league champion? Jamie?
I think Mount Roskill have made the necessary adjustments in their draft. They definitely won that out. Although the Z was exciting to watch, it maybe was a forced hand as such, and maybe this now Mount Albert Grammar needs to do the same. Maybe take a look at their draft, see what they're prioritizing. They got the Gragas, but they wasn't able to do too much compared to game 1. So from the very start is where they need to kind of build their team up, think about how they're going to play it out, and then try and execute that.
And Johnny, if you're Mount Roskill, what are you looking at doing moving into game number 3? What are you going to do pretty much the same, or what are you going to change up to try and win out this final match?
I think one of the things I really liked that Mount Roskill did in that game was they had multiple options where they could put their pressure. So they could put it bottom, they could put it top, and what they realized was that the Trundle was really strong, you know, and so what they decided was we're going to double down on this, and it paid absolute dividends for them. You know, that fight at the end of the game was kind of symbolic of that, with the other 4 members of the team kind of getting beaten up and Trundle walking in and ending the game. So I think Mount Roskill should just keep giving themselves options. If they're confident that they can navigate the increased complexity that comes with a less one-dimensional team composition, then absolutely they should do that, because it makes for a much deeper strategy, and you can generally find an advantage with that. Mount Albert, I want to see them go back to something with a little bit more range. They picked a really short-range team that game, aside from their AD carry, and I'd like to see their mid laner either do something maybe he's a little bit comfortable on, or something that he can do a bit more damage from further away, because that seemed like where he was really comfortable in game 1.
Yeah, I mean, look, Van Seen in the mid lane specifically is a massive carry, very famous player coming out from Mount Albert. So he's obviously had his Vel'Koz taken away. I don't think that's going to get given back to him. Zed, I feel like, is going to be changed up once more. He's got a lot of other heroes to pick from. I mean, one of the examples as well is more team-centric is that Oriana. Not as much carry potential, but there is that swing in a team fight that you can bring out. One good shockwave can absolutely turn the team fight around. But gentlemen, I believe we are almost ready for game number 3. The players are already in their lobbies, and I think without further ado, we are going to throw it over to the casters, Jump and Upstart, to take us through the final game of the High School League Premier Division Finals.
Thank you very much, Mike and Upstart. We're now in game 3 of the Premier High School League Finals. It is so close, and that last game made it so.
And this is familiar territory for Mount Albert, because this is exactly what happened in their semi-final. They win out the first game in quite convincing fashion. Then the second game, it's all the opposite team. Burnside in this case 2 weeks ago, and now Mount Roskill Grammar today. So they've been here before, and the result we got was a 35-minute slogfest.
Yeah, it makes it so hard, and this game is so crucial. One mistake, Upstart, could decide the High School League champion. As we jump in to your very last champion sets here, Mount Albert back on the blue side, with Mount Roskill taking up this spot on the red, and I'm already liking these 2 bands coming through.
The Trundle was a big factor for the side of Mount Roskill, purely because it was able to play so well into Shaken Robot. It was a style we're not used to seeing from Mount Roskill, because you're putting Telos on a split push, not just the traditional I play for the team tank. And it's really showing quite a lot of flexibility from that team that they haven't shown before.
Yeah, we're in the championship. We're just seeing purely ADC bans so far from Mount Roskill Grammar, with the Tristana, with the Twitch being taken away. They're just trying to really shut down 2001 in this game.
And 2001 was the performer in the last game for Mount Albert Grammar. He was the shining light of hope, managing to get that Flame Horizon over 100 CS over Zyma. But this last ban from Mount Roskill Grammar, do they take away the Vel'Koz?
It's got Vel'Koz and Gragas still to ban, and they're both such influential champions for Mount Albert, but the Vel'Koz arguably more so. He does so much more damage with this pick, and because it's done, now it's going to be really hard for Mount Albert to find that right mid laner.
But Shaken Robot getting the Cho'Gath that has been taken away from him so frequently. Such a powerful late game tank, and with that massive chunk of true damage, you're going to see objectives be taken quite easily. You're going to see quite a lot of tankiness in that front line there. And it kind of frees Terath up if he does want to pick up the Gragas, to pick up the Gragas. But it also gives him the ability to play something a little less tanky.
Yeah, right now with that cherry beam pit, it's going to be interesting to see what Mount Roskill really want to pick up into this one at this point. You've saw the Malka open, Talos has been known to make that champion work so well, but with his last game, I want him on a split pusher again.
But Yin Yang gets his Lee Sin, and that was basically what won the game for them last time. The amount of pressure he was able to put around the map, just the fact that he turned into an assassin by the end of it. And the Shen for Talos. Both of these top laners are getting champions that they had been banned away from them for the remainder of the series, so now it's all going to thing. But finally, Xin Zhao has gone through the pick and ban, so we're going to start to see potentially why it was such a crucial ban for both of these teams.
Oh, the real interesting part about this episode is that Lee Sin and Xin Zhao very similar playstyles. Both dive in, both wanted to kill the enemy ADC or mid laner, and it's really going to come down to this very, very early game, which one of those two get ahead from probably the rest of the game.
And just look at the team fight that Mount Albert has built up. You have the Taric for that ultimate, the stun that you can either put on your AD carry or put it onto the Xin Zhao who's going to dive in, try and stun up a squishy potentially. You've got the Cho'Gath as a front line, AoE damage and single target focus from the Xin Zhao. But on the opposite side, you have the Lee Sin, you have the Shen, and the Janna comes through again for Mount Roskill, and that was used to great effect in terms of keeping Jelly and keeping Zyma safe.
You know, most interesting, the most unique part of the championship upside is that no ADCs picked in the first rotation. So unlike this meta right now, you need those hyper carries, you need those primary picks picked up, and right now both these teams saying, you know what, we'll leave it for later.
The Diana ban coming through though is interesting, potentially being aware that it is one of Vancine's picks, or if it's just a pick that they don't want to give over. I'm a little bit curious as to the story behind that ban.
It must be Vancine's pocket pick.
Pocket pick. He's got pockets in pockets.
That's how good of a mid laner he is upstart, and as we've proved it so far this series, even in that loss last game, he got that double kill on Zed so easily, and if you get him on a champion he's comfortable with, he will carry that game, no questions asked.
And Mount Albert Grammar skipping that ban, not too sure why, but I don't know if it's going to cost too much. In fact, in this case, you want to leave as many AD carry positions up as possible. You don't want to try and clench down on that role, because obviously you're not scared of what Zyma's going to pull up, because he's going to get stomped in the laning phase as long as 2001 keeps up his performance. So really just saying, we don't want to put too much, we don't want to give away what we're going to pick.
And what I'm really liking the coming from Mount Roskill is they're banning away the three most popular ADCs that you've seen 2001 play, and they're to such great extent as well. The only other one we've seen live on stream has been that Jinx, and sure, it took him 55 minutes to get there, but he did win that game at the end.
But the other thing to bear in mind is that the Xayah has been left up.
Cold War banned away as well. There's very little ADCs to work with here, and I really want to see Mount Roskill most likely take away this Varus.
But Jelly gets his Syndra, and that was such a crucial pick, purely because he was able to provide so much CC when he was ahead. But the Varus potentially coming through for 2001, and this is a very different look to what we've seen him. He usually plays those scaling AD carries, but now he wants to use the skill in that early game, try and get ahead at that stage of the game. And if they don't, if Mount Roskill Grammar manage to fight back, if they manage to play it well, we will see Mount Albert Grammar start to fall behind in terms of scaling.
At this point in the draft, you have to ask yourself upside, where is the front line coming from Mount Roskill? Lee Sin and Shen are the most tanky champions here, and they don't have any way of really forcing them to be much of a threat. And with the way Yin Yang's playing, it has been this assassin playstyle. So Gunzo's Varus will shred through the entirety of Mount Roskill.
And it's quite a balanced composition coming out from Mount Albert, because you have the Orianna for that teamfight AoE and scaling. You've got a massive scaling top laner in the front. You've got that early pressure, that ball delivery system coming out in the form of Xin Zhao. But the Vayne could be a potential pickup for Zyma here.
There's a lot of ADCs that's available, but none of them too strong. Now the Caitlyn, arguably one of the bigger ones here, and gives so much sieging potential. You get those headshots off on towers now, patch 720, you can really quickly burst down the tower.
and into the Varus. It kind of counteracts that early game advantage that he would normally have. You pick Varus because you want to win that early game. You want to have that advantage in the push, but Caitlyn is picked for exactly the same thing. And in terms of range, the Caitlyn wins out in that instance. Going to have the trading advantage. And with the Janna, going to be a lot safer.
And it makes the competition for Mount Roskill a lot more rounded as well. You've given yourself that late game option because Syndra, because Lee Sin, we're going to start to fall off at that point in the game, especially in comparison to Oriana, to Xin Zhao. So we're seconds away from getting to game 3 of your Premier Year High School League finals, and this is going to be so close and so important for both these teams.
This one is for all of the marbles.
This is for
right
the keeps.
now.
This is for keeps.
This is the big game. This is the game where you need to perform, and last game was the game that Mount Roskill needed to perform, and perform they did. And they have some of the tools that allowed them to perform. Yin Yan on his Lee Sin, such a clutch player and someone that you can rely on in times of desperate need. And Mount Roskill, game 3 of a grand final, 4 match point, both teams, whoever takes it out wins. This is pretty much the most desperate need you can get.
Yeah, Mount Roskill needs to make the reverse sweep to keep their title alive. And it's going to be so hard to make sure this happens. However, we're going to throw it over to Dewan really quick to talk about some of this interesting game.
Ladies and gentlemen, of course, this is the big one. We are 1-1. The winner of this one takes it home. They are the champions of the Premier Division. Can I quickly hear from Mount Roskill support? Let's hear it from Eggs. Ladies and gentlemen, game 3, let's go.
And we're into game 3, the last one of the series, a deciding game. And moments like this are so tense upstart.
And all of a sudden, we see the game being shifted up in terms of the draft, in terms of how they're playing. Both of these teams opting in for, again, very defensive plays, making sure that there is an invade, making sure there's no early game shenanigans going on. And as a result, we're going to see defensive screens.
Yeah, both these team comps don't really have the best early game invade. Arguably a little bit stronger for Yin Yang, but just seeing the counter coming through from Mags, having 2 of those players stacked in that bush just in case something happens. And
but
really
Talos
well
is going to get in. He's going to get a ward down in there. So giving them a little bit of information in terms of tracking where we do see Terath go on this Xin Zhao.
And most importantly upside, that means they know what camp they're starting at. They won't see the blue being started, so they'll immediately go bot side start with Xin Zhao, be careful top lane. And that's really what's going to decide this game, is a Shen versus Cho'Gath.
But of course the thing is, when you see these leashes, you can often tell where the start is. All this does is give them that information early. Johan burning the stun quite early on before the camp's even up, potentially going to just slow down the clear a little bit, cost him a bit of mana. But both bot lanes really providing, doing what they should be doing at this stage. We see the Varus and the Taric helping out Terath on the Xin Zhao, while Zyma and Skeras get straight to lane and start putting down this pressure.
And I really want to see Zyma and Skeras actually apply pressure heavily in this bot lane. Caitlyn and Janna, such an aggressive bot lane. You wouldn't think of it. You go Janna, usually a defensive support, but in this case, you've paired it up with the Caitlyn. You need to make the laning phase win in your favor.
Because 2001, if he gets ahead, as he has done in every other game so far, he has the utility as well. Not only will he be out damaging the Caitlyn, but with that ultimate, with the grievous wounds being applied, with that max health damage on the W procs, he is going to be able to outplay Zyma in terms of setting up kills, in terms of doing that. And when you have that player, 2001, he's the clutch for Mount Albert Grammar. When you have him on a champion like Varus, all of a sudden the playmaking ability is on his laurels.
Especially because both these team comps are so similar outside. The only real difference is this ADC. You've got Caitlyn there for the sieging, but Varus is there for the team fighting. Wants to get that ultimate off, root up as many people as possible, and provide the max out damage as Terath has made his way up to the top side of the map and Talos does not see it coming. The Rupture will connect and Terath is there. However, you're going to use a dash, get out that one safely. But I'm liking the pressure that Terath is bringing to this big and crucial game.
But Yin Yan, he is off to the start. He's looking around this mid lane, trying to catch off Van Seen. But Van Seen trending towards that top side, dodging out the Q.
Dodging the Q, and that means there's time to fall back to Terath. The burst as well on the Lee Sin, but Yin Yan should be able to walk out as one nice and safely. Jale is there just in case.
And this game, it's tense. Both junglers try something, it doesn't quite work out. And they're going to keep on probing. As he said, both of these champions have a very similar style. Jump on top of someone, kill them.
And they really need to make use of that in that early game when you get the jump scare, when you don't have those wards set up or the vision across the map to really stop that from happening. So you want to see Terra making repeated ganks over and over again, ideally on the same person, get them shut down as well.
Burn that summoner, make the return, get the advantage here. Because Mags, all of a sudden, they don't have that good of a late game. Sure, they have the Orianna and the Cho'Gath, but you have the Varus who's going to fall off quite a bit, especially compared to the Caitlyn, who while isn't as strong as a hyper carry as she has been on previous metas, is still very strong with that long range and with that capability of becoming a powerful hyper carry towards the late game.
Especially because you've got the Janna to back it up. You've got the attack speed coming through from Arn Center, plus the 80 from the shield. It means that this Caitlyn is going to dish out so much damage, and with only Shaken Robot being that super tanky member, maybe Johan in the very, very late game, you're not going to survive for too long.
But when you go and consider the fact that you have Talos on his Shen, it's been banned away for a reason, but at the same time, Cho'Gath for Shaken Robot, again, exactly the same story. These players, a lot of the time, have gotten the champions that they want, except pretty much for Van Seen, who's been taken off as Vel'Koz, coming onto the Orianna. But I like the adaptation, realizing that Mag's strength is in the team fight, and getting them onto that team fighting 80 carry. One of the most iconic ultimates for those team fights is now in his hands.
Yeah, and especially with Van Seen, Shockwave having just the same amount of a priority as a disintegration rate when it comes to team fights, because if the Shockwave lands onto Jelly, on the Zimmer, fight over. No way that Mount Roskill can survive that fight unless Scarus and Yin Yang make some miracle plays.
Especially when you have a Xin Zhao to follow up on that damage, when you have a Cho'Gath who's going to be involved. The Varus is going to potentially be able to get through the Shen, get through the Lee Sin, depending on what Yin Yang chooses to build. Because these tanks aren't exactly as big as you'd like them to be. The Shen not going to become as much of a hyper tank as Shaken Robot is. And Yin Yang, he realizes this. He realizes that Talos' advantages is now, and he's roaming around this top lane. Potential.
Trying to look for a pick here. The Rupture will not connect onto either of them, but Yin Yang didn't really have the opportunity to start it up either. This game is nail biting close. Sure, only 6 minutes in. This is the farming stage, but it's so important for these junglers to look to make it so much more than that.
And importantly, 2001 is not coming out to a CS lead at this stage.
Oh,
but Shaken Robot.
Yin Yang is still here. The Taunt will connect. Shaken Robot burning that flash. The Q will connect from Lee Sin. Talos wants a flash. It's one on the tower. First blood for the Shen, and the shield will just save him as well. Talos with the big play.
Shaken Robot does it once. He thinks that Yin Yang has gone, and immediately after starts to play aggressive. Moves up, uses that Rupture, and Yin Yang punishes. He hangs around for a little bit longer than you supposedly think he would, and it nets them a kill. Kill to the Shen Talos, getting him closer towards that level 6. In fact, he's level 6 now, so look for him to start using that Stand United.
Especially because the teleport has been burnt on Shaken Robot to get back to the lane to catch that wave. There's now ample amounts of opportunity to use that ultimate aggressively, especially towards the bot side of the map, where currently Mag are drawing the Ocean Dragon under the stealth of no vision.
And this is because the bottom lane has been falling behind a bit. They've been able to get that push, and they see that Jelly is back, so they have the priority from the mid lane, freeing up their champions to be able to go and take this Ocean Drake. And it's small recompense, but getting it this early on in the game means they're going to get maximum value from that regeneration.
Especially because now in lane, you look at champions like Van Seen, like 2001, who can be really heavily poked in this laning phase. Now, what we do is fall back, wait for that healing to come back, and be right back into action. No backs required, and that gives them a lot more pressure than what you'd think it would.
And just as well, when you consider the fact that Shaken Robot on the Cho'Gath is already going to have ridiculous amounts of sustain, Orianna is going to want to try and survive the Syndra, and 2001 and the Caitlyn are going to be trading quite heavily. It's quite an interesting reaction, but Terra potentially being caught out here.
Terra went to the blue bar, tried to hand it off over to Van Seen, but Yin Yang was first to the scene, claimed it for himself, and might be able to sneak away as well. That ward helped him out so much there.
But he knows that Terrace is going towards this top side. And he knows that he's going in for the gank at this current stage. Terra's potentially finding Yin Yan though.
Oh, Yin Yan is going to be the one caught out first, and Shaken Robot is there to counter. The Warlock doesn't quite get over the ultimate from Shin to buy some time, but Legion's on the wrong side of the map. Jelly is here, the burst, and Jelly will kill Terra. The turnaround for Mount Roskill. They can't quite commit for more, as Bansi's here to back it up, but they turn around this play, and it's so big for them.
And the early game, it goes exactly the same as game 1, exactly the same as game 2. Mount Roskill Grammar are more willing to leave their lane early, more willing to help out their side lanes. And as a result, it is netting them an advantage. And they're up to that 1k gold lead.
That crucial mark is the first mark of many to come, as Mount Roskill need to keep this ball rolling. They've got a snowball composition. Make it snowball. Look for these early towers, look for these skirmishes, and eventually team fights so they can win out this game, take the title.
And Jelly, he is doing well. He is the one with the CS lead right now, and he's managing to outdo 2001 in that regard by just that little bit. And so we're still seeing the real goal difference being provided by those 2 kills for the side of Mount Roskill Grammar. And again, they are playing this early game to excellent effect.
And they really need to as well. Yin Yan, once again from last game, still has 100% kill contribution here on this Lee Sin, making such impactful plays, and so far only around the top side. This is a repeat of last game up start. Top lane gets camped for a couple of kills and starts to snowball over the other.
And it's quite obvious that Mount Roskill, after that first game, they spotted something. They saw something in the way Shaken Robot was playing, and they decided that going for the camp was worth it. That getting Telos ahead was the way to go. Instead of paying attention towards Jelly, instead of paying attention towards Zyma and Scaras in that bottom lane, and it's paying off so far.
Yeah, right now Talos is completely zoning Shaken Robot out of the lane. Ninja's looking for a bit more action here. The Sun will connect onto the side of Banzine. The kick into the queue. However, Banzine though with a nice flash to get himself out of that one. So close to death. One button in fact.
But fortunately, he does expend the Summoner, which does mean that there is the opportunity for a repeat gank, but the ultimate is up for Shaken Robot, so Talos needs to be very careful about how low he gets in these trades.
This is going to be a real interesting low health fight here, because Talos can cancel out the ultimate with that taunt, stop him from being able to use it in the fight and hopefully get the kill, but if he drops a little bit too low, fight's over, Shaken Robot walks out victorious.
But Yin Yan is going to be the great equalizer here, going for the dive at this stage onto Shaken Robot.
He's so low health, but he does dodge that Q out, and that means that Yin Yan doesn't quite have the opportunity now to get that gank off. Meanwhile, bot lane, all 3 members here, the jungle and bot lane, will start to siege down this tower, get half its damage done. And this is into a Caitlyn, mind you.
And it is just that Varus and Caitlyn matchup really going down to 2001. While Caitlyn does have the ability to get those long-range trades more frequently, Varus still has that potential to play the early game. It isn't like you're playing Caitlyn into a Cogmore, into a Tristana, but the teleport coming through, it might get cancelled out here.
Talos is teleporting out as well and trying to save it. Just gets here in time, but not enough time to save. The tower and Bet is scared. Has to flash now. Xin Zhao trying to kill this one. Monsoon to buy some time. There's a flash done from Johan. Will be enough to secure the kill. Banzine claiming that one. First tower and a kill.
And all of a sudden, Mags take the gold lead. They are 500 gold ahead. But while that's happening, we see Yin Yan go to that Rift Herald and take it quite quickly. So immediately there, Mount Roskill have the ability to respond with another tower by using that neutral objective.
They have the potential now to equalize it if they can trade out these towers here. Look towards mid lane and top lane in particular, because you want to have the freedom on the Syndra, on the Shen, to start roaming around this map. So when the gank comes through from Yin Yan, drop the Rift Herald, get the tower, make more of an advantage for yourself later on.
And this game is very even here in the early game. We're seeing Mags, again, the same story of the whole series. They outlane in most cases. Despite the camps, Shaken Robot has a CS lead. 2001 into the Caitlyn, coming out with a 20 CS lead. The only difference to that rule is Banzine, who's arguably on an unfavorable champion.
Oh, a nice fight happening in mid lane. The shot will be used. Magellan doing more damage. A flash, a Q, the auto, and the kill in the 1v1 for Syndra.
And that is what you want to see. But the response from Mount Albert is to go to this top lane, try and take this down, get that tower snowball going. But the response in turn from Mount Roskill is to move towards that mid lane and try and take that tower down.
The split push strategy is coming through from Mount, but they want to force it to work, and usually you see it on the Caitlyn, you see it on Tristana, not so often on the Varus, but they're making it work wonders here as this tower in mid lane is also dropping equally low, but will be completed by Mount Roskill first, and now shaking robots all by himself.
And it will just be a tower exchange, but the kill goes in favor of Mount Albert, and the gold lead remains constant. Importantly, it is the mid lane tower for Mount Roskill Grammar that goes down, so they have the ability to start to open up that middle section of the map.
And now with the Infernal Dragon live as well outside, you're going to start to see Mount Roskill group towards the objective, really want to have the snowball carry on, and with the Infernal Dragon, the 8% increase on AD and AP, what's a better way of doing it?
And for both of these teams, it's going to be crucial. Yin Yang, if he does the same build that he did last game, which it does look like he's going towards with those double longswords, you've got two triple threat compositions here on the side of both teams. Both of them would benefit from that increased amount of damage. But Terath getting caught.
The nice ultimate from Xin Zhao to reduce all that damage coming from Jelly. Their ultimate now blocking all damage outside that spear, and it makes it really hard for him to die to the back line. It's all on the front line to really kill the Xin Zhao.
But of course, with Terath using that ultimate, it means that their team fight is immediately weaker, which means that you won't be able to see Mags contest as hard for this Infernal Drake. And potentially, they're just trying to rush down this middle lane turret.
They're leaving Yin Yang to finish one off. They want the objective and then to go defend the tower. It has dropped to half health, but they've got the time to get there.
They'll be able to get this turret.
They're trying to get this one down. A nice stun though onto the a nice shockwave. In fact, back onto them. But Yin Yang's in the back line. He kicked and Johan won't result in a kill. Tower goes over to Mag and no one dies in that really intense situation.
And that is well played there by Mount Albert. They realize that they are not able to make the thing. But a potential duel coming in here for Shaken Robot, and he's starting to get the advantage in this lane. The scaling is coming through for the Cho'Gath. He's getting those stacks up. The max health damage is there.
Slowly increasing the Cho'Gath. Currently sitting at 5 stacks, one more available in terms of those minions, and then he has to start using them on champions, on objectives, where Cho'Gath can outsmite any jungler, regardless of who it is, regardless of it's Yin Yang.
And one of the things that a lot of people don't realize about Cho'Gath, they look at the stacks and they go, okay, he's just going to get a lot of health. But one of the things that you do see is that every stack you get increases the damage of your E by an additional 0.5% of health. The more stacks you get, the more health you're going to start doing to these tanks, the more health you're going to start doing to these squishies. And as a result, not only do those stacks make you incredibly tanky, they make you quite potent as a side laner as well.
It makes it really hard for Talos to match the split push, actually. You would give the advantage over Shin usually, especially on the older Cho'Gath where that wasn't the case. But now, with this rework coming through, Shin really going to struggle come 20, come 30 minutes in dealing with the Cho'Gath in a 1v1.
And it is all about the way that late game stays out. 2001
flashing in and nearly dies forward so low. Will be able to land this one onto Terath there as the ultimate from Talos will be channeled just to guarantee Syndra doesn't drop. But nice disengage coming through from Mount Roskill.
It does burn the Stand United though, but on the back end, the turrets are equalized for Mount Roskill Grammar. They are able to go and pick up that top lane tower, and they're going to try and transition it into that second tier.
A 3-2 push right now, and Mount Roskill are doing something you never really see. However, though, you've got Banting walking in, really wants to get the shockwave onto Zimmer, who can't get out of it too easily, especially when that net is down.
And this is the issue. You're looking for the engage to come through, and the ultimate being burned a bit preemptively there. I like the idea of it. Try and force the fight onto that two-man. Use the advantage, but using that ultimate before you have the secure engage really just means it's down for when you next find the opportunity to make that play.
And outside was now 17.5 minutes in this game and still less than 1,000 gold separating these two teams. It's still so close. It can explode open at any moment for any team. And they might be able to kill Jelly to start it off. The counter kill comes in from Talos, but that's going to be the 2-for-1. As you see, the other one picking up Talos on the end. And now Mags, even up the kills, 2-for-1. What are they going to do with it?
And that is what you pick the Varus for. You pick it for that ability to lock someone down. You pick it for that utility. And now you want to start to see Mount Albert Grammar use the time when the Jelly isn't up, use the time where Talos isn't up to either, one, take an objective, use that aggression and get some of those turrets down, or just regroup. Get the vision in your jungle clear when you don't have the threat of that Syndra coming through. And if you can get that working, you can get that coming together, you should be pretty fine set with now I'd say about a 2K gold lead right now.
Yeah, just shy of a 2K gold lead, and that's big for them as well. Because with this gold lead, and Baron's putting in less than 2 minutes, a fight could go so easily in their favor, especially Advancing makes that hero Shockwave.
And again, the team fight is ever so slightly stronger. You have the utility coming out from 2001. The Orianna with that AoE damage. Terath, he's going to be looking to get on top of someone and then split the team up. The way they're playing this game, the way that Mags is going, they're setting up for what they did in the first game, where they got behind a little bit, but then they get into this mid-game and just start team fighting their way to victory.
Especially because you're only 1 completion gold away from being able to complete the Brunons on the Varus. And at that point, you're shredding not just 1 person, but 3 each auto attack with the Gunzos as well. A team fight that lasts longer than 5 seconds arguably goes in Mag's favor.
And Shaken Robot is just standing up there, landing ruptures, trying to zone away, giving 2001 that free time.
And
but the teleport's
the
coming
sun
in from
comes
Telos.
to Jelly. Will it be enough to sell? And John will tank it up, and the ultimate is used. Telos with the TP doesn't quite find it there. The flash though from the Syndra will be able to kill Vancine on the back end. They're looking for more. The sun narrowly misses, but Mount Roscoe are chasing them down the mid lane. They need to put this tempo back in their favor, and they're doing so.
But Mount Roscoe Grammar's looking like they're just going to turn towards the Baron. It's up in 10 seconds. And with Vancine down, the threat of the Shockwave isn't there. Or they're just going to look for that top lane, get that second tier turret down.
It's going to be so hard now because Mags now have that tower disadvantage once again, and means that once they get into this game, it's going to be less map for them to work with. Mount Roscoe and Mount Albert now have more playing ground, and arguably, I think with Mount Roscoe's mobility, works
Of course,
out in their
there's a
favor.
fight going on.
A fight happens. Yin gets the first kill. You see Zimmer pick up the second. The flash from Yin to deliver Telos in with the Stand United. Shockwave only catches onto Jelly. Jelly will be able to walk out of that one safely, and Mount Roscoe keep up with these picks.
And this is where you have to start thinking that Mount Roscoe is starting to beat Mount Albert at their own game. They're the one winning these mid-game team fights. Jellies, he's playing out of his mind right now, landing ultimates, landing stuns. Zymer, he's managing to play safe. He's managing to stay around, stay and keep up this damage. Yin Yang, of course, he is being so potent as we move through these stages of the game.
And it's a second Infernal Dragon as well outside that might be going over to Mount Roscoe. And if they get this one, 16% increased AD and AP for a Syndra, for a Caitlyn, how are you going to really stop this?
Of course, the steal not going to come through from Vancine. Yin Yang going to be able to smite that away quite cleanly. And as you said, the 16% increased AD and AP. When you have that 3 carry competition, Yin Yan's building full damage again. He's going towards that Black Cleaver. Another longsword there, potentially for the Hex Drinker if he wants to.
And the great thing about Lee Sin is you can go for that assassin if you feel comfortable with it, and clearly he does. He used it before last game to such great extent. Not sure, not quite 100% kill participation in this game, but still keeping up the same performance, the same captain's level performance we expect out of him.
And what this game is showing you with how the teams are performing is how much Mags relies on that Vel'Koz pick. That pick for them basically decides whether or not they win a game.
And especially because Terath had the Gragas up as well. Usually you see Terath and Gragas together every single game, but this game, he leaves it completely open, instead opting for Xin Zhao. A bit more of a pocket pick, sure, but the Gragas was working fine. Why swap it out?
Well, you could easily say, I want to switch things up. There's something in this Xin Zhao that has made it be banned every game. The potential to really burst down, get on top of an AD carry, especially one that is relatively immobile like the Caitlyn, really only having that net to get away. But again, the Janna coming through, blocking out any engage, anyone who wants to jump on top of an AD carry, immediately gets knocked out. There's a shield, there's a knockup.
And that's why Janna has a ridiculously high win rate at Worlds as well outside. It's because it's so good at disengage. In this tank meta where you have Shogun's one-shotting ADCs, you can't get near your ADC to begin with. You've got a Howling Gale into a Monsoon, and there's no way that you're going to be able to touch Zimmer or Jelly if he so chooses.
But Mount Albert Grammar is deciding to play into this team fight. They're going around as this 4-man group with Vancine following in behind. But Telos, he's on the Shen. being able to sit in the side lane is where he wants to be. And the way he's playing this, just sit there, absorb pressure. Eventually, Shaken Robot's going to need to respond.
Shaken Robot needs to have the back, but he does have the TP to match. So tell us, if he wants to use that element to get into a fight, there are options for Shaken Robot to reply in kind. So it means that right now, this next team fight could be so close for both of these two teams.
And we are waiting for this team fight to come through. But the way Mount Roskill's posturing, they're either looking to catch Mags in the pit or potentially looking to sneak it away. But what Mount Albert Grammar has done very well this game is they are managing to keep control over the Baron. They have ward control in that region. And now they force Telos to come and group up. He's not in the side lane anymore.
And you have to remember, going back to the first game, the Baron seal is possible. Tirath has done it before, and he will do it again if need be. And that's what really won them the game, Baron seal into team fight. So, Mags, if they catch Mount Roskill in this negative position, game's over.
But exactly the same thing can be said for Mags on the split side. If Mount Roskill catches them out, it's the game over. And the longer this goes out, the longer the death timers get, and the closer we get towards one explosive team fight winning the game.
Right now, you're going to see how it comes in once again for Mount Roskill, clearing out all these wards that Mags may have lurking around. But will they bait? The bait seems like it's going to be the call. It might be able to pick the kill. No, Johan sidestepping the stun. We ought to get that one safely. And I like the idea from Mount Roskill, but they need to make it work. They can't do a 5v5 at Baron.
And that is why you see them going for that Fnatic Death Rush. Unfortunately, the mobility boots coming up from Johan, giving him that movement speed to avoid the first up stun coming out from Jelly. And what's going to happen now is that you're going to start seeing the Baron dance occur. Shaken Robot, he's going to stay in the side lanes. He's going to try and do that with the Stand United up in the event where a team fight breaks up. But there's going to be a lot of jockeying for possession, a lot of vision wards being killed around this Baron pit.
Yeah, but at this point of the game, I'm saying, let's start worrying about Shaken Robot. He's scaling up in the Shogun. As he gets tankier, he gets harder and harder to kill, and bigger as well, harder to hit people around him because of the hitbox on the massive Shogun as well. So as this game goes on, you're going to see Shaken Robot slowly outscale and do better than what Talos can do in a team fight.
But of course, we've hit the stage with Shaken Robot to get that scaling. He needs to get into a team fight, and he needs to start taking some large neutral objectives. Because he's got the 6 stacks that he can from minions. And all that means is that he has hit a point in terms of maximum health he's going to start dealing. He's hit a point in terms of maximum health damage he's going to deal with his E. So if they really want to utilize Shaken Robot, they need to start taking these objectives. They need to start forcing fights, giving them those kills with that chomp.
The question I have to ask you, Upside, is if the situation will arise where Talos catches out Shaken Robot teleporting to a fight, does he sacrifice himself to stop that teleport coming through, or does he make it a 5v5 answer in kind?
Well, that's the question you need to ask yourself, is what's going to happen? Has Talos backed away? And that's where team communication comes through. That's when you need to say, I can stop the teleport. And whether or not they need the Cho'Gath there in the team fight, whether or not the Shen is that much of a threat coming through, is going to dictate Shaken Robot's action. And that's where it comes down to communication between these two teams.
Well, right now the threat of Talos is right now on the top lane, split pushing with the Shen. He has that option always available. Stand United being on a lower cooldown than teleport can always move
But
quickly.
they're just going to start the Baron.
Mount Roskill at this point are wanting to commit to this Baron. They need to make something sick because the game's slowing down. The scaling is arguably worse than what Mags are bringing. They're bursting through it. Zimmer's on the other side, so they can't even get to him cleanly. Gonna drop, and the Baron goes Mount Roskill. The fight continues as you're going to see Tirath try to live for as long as possible, but that's been seen down. They're looking for more. Tirath dropped so low. Shaken Robot's doing all he can to buy time, but the taunt lands on 2001. That's 3 people dead coming through for Mount Roskill. Sure, Shaken Robot grabs one on the back end, but it will not be enough here. Talos dodges the rupture as well, trying to get this kill. The stun will narrowly save his life, but Mount Roskill, they get the Baron.
You saved a kill, Johan, but now your base is going to fall. The push coming through. 3 men down for Mags and the Baron buff on Mount Roskill Grammar. They pick the Baron fight when 2001 is taking the red buff down on that bottom side around the Infernal Drake. This is going to be the mid lane inhibitor for Mount Roskill.
No, decided to back it off instead. Don't want to risk it, and instead going for the 3rd Infernal Dragon, giving himself the option in the late game to get that Elder Dragon, get ridiculous scaling up to 36% AD and AP if the Elder Dragon is picked up, and give himself yet another option in the late game.
And Mount Roskill Grammar are just outplaying Mount Albert. They have gotten a hold of the game, and they are completely unwilling to let go of it. Van Seen, he's getting singled out in these team fights before he's able to get his shockwave off. Jelly's just got his number down. He's landing stuns and then using the ultimate, and he's going down quite quickly. And with the Zhonya's being picked up by Van Seen, there is the potential now for him to survive, but you'd like to think that he'd maybe pick up the Banshees, as it is a lot more of a defensive option.
You have to remember, up to the last time Mount Albert were in this situation, 1-1 and down in game 3 in a best of 3, it was against Burnside, and they clawed back a 55-minute game against all odds, all inhibitors down, all Nexus towers down, and still won out the game. Never count Mags out of this one, they still have a chance.
But the crucial bit about that game is that Van Seen had his Vel'Koz. And you had 2001 on the scaling pick of the Jinx. Instead, you're on the Varus now, who when he hits that 50-minute mark is going to do nothing compared to the critical strike 80 carries. And while Van Seen is on the Orianna, he is displaying quite a lot of unfamiliarity, quite a lot of discomfort on this champion. And as a result, perhaps the 50-minute holdout isn't quite there for Mount Albert.
Yeah, it means that they're going to have to find picks rather than a team fight, and which at 50 minutes, you're not going to be solo. You can't afford to be solo, because if you die, that's the game over. It makes it a 4v5 fight, and that's what Mount Albert are hoping for at this point, because right now Mount Roskill are running away with this game.
And they're just going to use this Baron buff, push up these minion waves. They've got Shaken Robot in the top lane, who with that Baron minions is now going to have the push advantage over Shaken Robot, and we're seeing the 4-1 come out from Mount Roskill. And it's really down on Mags to try and stop this, but they have limited engage options.
You know, this is what won them last game as well. So they did a 4-1 push and Telos backed toward the base. The same we're having against Telos is only answered by Shaking Robot in the top lane, and with the Baron buff, it means that Telos will outweigh Peter Cho'Gath easy peasy.
But fortunately for Mount Albert Grammar, it isn't the Trundle which is coming through. The Shen is a much more manageable pick in that side lane. It isn't going to absolutely devastate you. It isn't a champion you're expecting to see backdoor a Nexus. But Yin Yang, he's just going to backdoor an inhibitor. You don't need a Trundle.
Yeah, why does Yin Yang do it instead? I mean, he's gone for the floaty build. Duskblade once again for the Lee Sin means that he's going to one-shot the other one very quickly, which is important, because the Taric ultimate can save him for so much longer than you'd expect to, and that could be a very influential thing in a team fight.
And now for Mount Albert Grammar, we are seeing a return to their semi-final match, the 1-3-1 coming out from Mount Roskill. And they defended against us so excellently against Burnside, but Burnside didn't have team fighting tools. They had LeBlanc in the mid lane. They had a Jarvan in the top lane.
And that'll be the kill. And the stun important to Betsy as well. The ultimate not used by Jelly. Rather safe, but Yin Yang wants to try to make something happen. Jelly gets the kill into Taric. Gerard's trying to do all he can to stop the fight. A nice shockwave to buy some time. But now a double kill for Jelly. 2001 has to kite this one away. Doing so much, flashes in. Kills the Syndra. Yin Yang now under the towers. It's Zonya's burn from Benzine. It's just these carries left. It's down to the 2v4. And Mags had to do the impossible.
There is a very slight chance that they could finish the game if they wanted to, but they're not. They're going to take the inhibitor. They're going to move to that top wave. And again, Mount Albert Grammar. Never mind, they're going to go for the game.
Flash Taunt on 2001. That's the kill. That's the ADC dead. It is only Benzine left alive. He has to do it. No,
that's the game.
That's the game. Has reversed. Sweet Mags. They're getting these Nexus towers. The members are respawning though. Tark will drop very, very quickly. It's now down the Terra. Now down this Shake Robber. But Mount Roskill have reversed Sweet Mags to take the victory. Returning champions.
And against almost all expectations, Smite, the only one to go in their favor. Mount Roskill Grammar defend their HSL title.
And in a strongly extreme fashion as well, coming back from a game 1 loss to even up and then to take the last game in such dominating fashion. They figured Nags out and they shut them down completely, almost a stomp you would argue towards the end.
And it really just goes to show that they found the weaknesses in Mount Albert Grammar. Without the Vel'Koz, without the Twitch, those 80 carries, those big AoE damages coming from those champions, it isn't really a thing that you can expect to occur.
Well, that was such an awesome Premier Final. That's what we all came here to see, a 2-1 victory towards the end of that to make sure that Mount Roskill can secure the returning victory. However, Matt has something to say, and the analyst has as well, about that best of 3 series.
What an incredibly tense build-up to the third and final game. Even the game itself was a tense build-up all the way till the end. But Mount Roskill, they've done it again. They've defended their title. They are the High School League champions once more. And congratulations to them. Very well deserved. Fellas, what an incredible series. What an absolutely die-hard series.
I think no better game than to finish off with something so reserved. We've seen bloodbaths all day. This was just a really high-skilled League of Legends. The teams respecting each other with Mount Roskill coming out on top in the end.
Yeah, and Johnny as well. Like, you've got to feel a bit of the pain, a bit of the pressure coming in as Mount Albert. You're coming in to challenge the top of the table, defending champions Mount Roskill, and you're also the crowd favorite, so a lot of weight on your shoulders, and they just couldn't quite get it there.
Yeah, I think the way that this last game played out really speaks to the weight and the pressure on these guys. You could tell that these guys were really feeling it, how they were playing so cautious, and like Jamie was saying to me before, we didn't see a fight till 25 minutes. That really speaks to these guys are just really looking for everything to be perfect, and as a result, nothing much happened.
That's exactly what it did feel like, the tense build-up. But everyone, we do have Dwan standing by with the runner-ups just to talk to them in front of you.
What an epic battle, went to 3 games, and of course, like the guys said, there can only be one. But of course, we'll welcome up Mount Albert Grammar. Big round of applause as we welcome up your runners-up. I mean, obviously, epic occasion. It was packed all the way to the back hall. Have you got some words for us?
Yeah, it was good games, man. They played it really well, and yeah, it was good fight.
And for all your supporters, and they were very, very vocal for you guys. Mags came out in force on the stream and here in the arena. Have you got some words for your supporters?
I love you guys, man.
Big, big, big love. Ladies and gentlemen, that is your runners-up for 2017 in the form of Mount Albert Grammar. Of course, you've just seen an epic, epic battle. Thank you for everyone in the arena. Thank you very, very much. You have just witnessed back-to-back champions. Let's welcome them out, Mount Roskill Grammar. Look, I'll just come to you. I felt there was a bit of nerves in game number 1. You guys sort of took a little bit to get into your work, so to speak, and Mags jumped on you in match number 1.
Yeah. So, I have nothing to say.
I think he's overwhelmed. Look, we won't keep them up too much. Just quickly, though, do you want to have a big shout out to everyone out there in Armageddon, everyone that's been supporting you throughout the year? Have you got a few words, even 1 or 2?
I love you all. I love you all.
I love you all. Ladies and gentlemen, 2017 Premier Division HSL champions, back-to-back, Mount Roskill Grammar. There we have it. We'll head back to the desk for the boys to pick up the final action.
All right, gentlemen, there you have it. That is your defending champions come back to claim their title, and claim it they very well did. There you see it, the Premier Division champions. They've claimed the shield as well, which will continue to be a legacy in High School League as it continues into 2018 and beyond. Let's talk about this series as a whole, how Mount Roskill did drop game 1, but they came back in the final 2 games. That is a huge accomplishment for this team.
It's one thing to win straight the first 2 games, but to be able to come back from a deficit, recognize where your weaknesses were, and change them so drastically that in the second and then third game, you were able to close it out so cleanly. In the third game particularly, we saw very few mistakes. Neither team were looking to make that leap of faith, it was match point for both, but Mount Roskill just knew the controlled game. They knew how to play at their own pace and eventually just won the game.
But make that leap of faith they did as they went into the Baron Pit. And that was one of the more important calls that they made. And that was one of the most amazing fights because they knew this up until this point. They had not had very much going on in the game. We were saying that we didn't see many kills, we didn't see many fights, but they made it to this Baron Pit and they said, look, we've got to do something at some point. And they went to the Baron Pit and they came out on top.
Yeah, I think the main thing in that fight was that they managed to catch the Orianna and blow her up before she got the ult off. The casters talked about it during the game. I just want to reiterate that that is absolutely huge. Orianna was one of the biggest engage and disengage tools on Mount Albert's team, and they didn't get to use it. So with that key part of their team composition removed, they didn't really stand a chance after that in that fight.
And I think what kind of contributed to that, them not being able to execute, is just those game day nerves, right? So just not being able to pull out, maybe in the macro thing, maybe in your champion select, you've got a plan, but on stage, anything can happen. And so at the end of the day, it's obviously Mount Roskill that just it came together for them.
And props to Mount Roskill as well, because we talk about how Mount Albert are the fan favorite here at Armageddon, right? They've got a huge crowd supporting them, much, much louder than the Mount Roskill supporters for sure. And yet they still managed to come out on top despite the fact that they just had less supporters here in person, of course. I mean, there's plenty of people that will be watching from home supporting them, no doubt. But the fact is, the crowd is very loud when they're here in person. I mean, it's very hard to hear yourself think, let alone play a strategic game over the course of 40 minutes. So, again, props to these guys, because it's going to be one of the first times that a lot of these players have ever played on a stage in front of a crowd.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing about being on a stage for the first time, you know, when you get nervous, like you were saying, Jamie, the nerves make you think about what you're doing, and actually that's the worst thing you can do when you're playing at this level. You don't have time to think a lot of the time. You just have to know what needs to be done. It needs to be automatic, your communication. There's just too much going on to be in control. You actually just have to just relax into it and just do the thing that you've done for hundreds and hundreds of hours to get to the level that you're at now. And it looked like today Mount Roskill did a much better job of that. Perhaps being veterans from the previous split helped them out. You know, even with a different AD carry, you know, they had to take a bit of a leap of faith on their replacement, and he came through.
Definitely worked out. But anyway, guys, that is going to be it for High School League. The grand finals, we've had the Challenger League finals with Northcote College taking out that title earlier today. And this afternoon, of course, we've just seen Mount Roskill reclaim their title as the Premier Division High School League champions. Now, of course, this is not the end of Armageddon. We're here at the Logitech G Esports Arena for every day of Armageddon. Sunday and Monday are still to come. And on Sunday, we do have Street Fighter 5. We're going to have the best 32 fighters coming in and duking it out over a one-day cup. We've also got the LPL show where we'll be interviewing multiple personalities and gaming people from around New Zealand. So make sure to tune into the broadcast for that. And then on Monday, we've also got GT Sport. Come in and test your skills. Go for the time trial. Get on that top 10 leaderboard, and then you can come back and compete in the top 10 race near the end. And that's going to be live from 11 a.m. in New Zealand as well. And of course, we are at stand 104. Very hard to miss us. We're a very, very big stand, the Logitech G Esports Arena. But thank you very much, everyone in the broadcast here at Armageddon. It's been great having you all here, and it's been an amazing day for everyone. It has been the High School League finals, and thank you so much for joining us, and we hope to see you tomorrow.
League of Legends High School.